upright and balanced over your shoulders. We don't want you going into a pigeon neck position and leaning forward. We want your eyes looking straight ahead or in a downward gaze, because that's what our eyes are designed to do. We're really good at looking at things straight ahead and slightly down. Anything that's up higher than eye level, we end up tilting our head up or back to be able to see, or we slide back. We get further away to be able to see it. We want your wrists to be in a nice, flat, neutral posture. Your back needs to be supported, and that's what a good chair does for you. It gives you a nice, good support in that low back area, that lumbar region of your back. We want your elbows to be at about a 90-degree angle relative to your forearm and upper arm. It can be slightly more open than that. We want your thighs to be about parallel to the floor, but we want your knees to be at or a little bit lower than your hips. That's general. We want your chair to provide good support. We want your feet to be supported either on the ground, which is preferable, or on a stable footrest. So that's the idealized position, what we're striving for. And you can see my colleague here, he's in pretty good posture. So he's on a keyboard platform that allows him to get into that nice posture for his forearm. So he's in a little bit more than a 90-degree posture here, which is totally fine. His torso to thigh posture here, also a little bit more than 90 degrees, which is perfectly fine. Feet are flat on the floor. So he's looking pretty much the way I would like people to be set up. Now, to get there, here's how we need to organize our workstation. For our monitors, we need our monitors directly in front of us so that we don't have to rotate our head. We want the distance from our eyes to our monitor to be whatever it is that you need to be comfortable, so you're not leaning in and you're not pushing back. Now, if you don't know what that is, we tell people you can start an arm's length away and see how that feels, and then monitor yourself and see, are you leaning forward, are you leaning back? But really, arm length has nothing to do with your visual needs, so it's just a way to get started, to figure out if you're not sure. For most people, the monitor distance is somewhere between 18 and 32 inches. May depend on if you wear contact lenses or if you have glasses or bifocals. Same thing with the monitor height. If you're wearing bifocals, that monitor may be lower. Depending on what your eyes are. If you're younger, you probably can tolerate a monitor that's further away than if you're older. It's going to be different for everybody. That's why you have to pay attention to your own workstation setup. If you've got a single monitor, it always goes right in front of you. That's your primary visual target, and so we want your head to be able to be in a neutral position and not rotated to the side, so definitely right in front of you. If you have multiple monitors, then we usually say to put your primary monitor right in front of you. If you have one that you mostly use, get that in front of you and put the other monitor to the side. If you use them both equally, then you got to split the difference and put the seam right in the middle. Now, your keyboard positioning is really important because it's going to allow your shoulders to be nice and relaxed. In general, we want your ears, shoulders, elbows as much as possible to be in alignment. So we want that elbow to be back so it's also in alignment with your hip. That creates a nice, neutral, relaxed position. Very easy to keep your arms in that position. And again, we want wherever your keyboard is located, whether it's on a keyboard platform or on your desk, we want that keyboard to allow your arms and your forearms and your wrists to all be in alignment. So if you have a height adjustable desk, you got to raise or lower your desk to allow you to get into that position. If you don't have any adjustability, then you may need to raise your chair up and use a footrest to be able to get into that position. Now let's talk about mouse positioning. Here's a former colleague of mine, and she's a little over 5 feet tall. And she's working on a traditional keyboard with a numeric keypad on the right, and you can see the reach that she has to get to the mouse. So this is a standard keyboard and a right-handed person using a right-handed mouse. Now, to get into a better position without changing anything about her keyboard platform, we had her try left-hand mousing. Look at the difference between the reaches. No reach on the left. This is perfectly aligned compared to the reach on the right. So unfortunately, standard keyboards always have the numeric keypad on the right, which puts right-handed people at a disadvantage. So if you're not very broad through your shoulders, or you have arms that are not very, very long, you are going to have a big reach to the mouse, and that can cause some awkward postures of your arm and create shoulder discomfort. Sometimes what people do is they'll then shift the keyboard over to the left so they can get to the mouse a little bit better. But we want you to ideally align yourself with your belly button right in front of that space bar. And so we don't want you to push the keyboard over to get to the mouse, if at all possible. So left-hand mousing is the #1 way that a right-handed person who's having trouble reaching the mouse can become in much better posture, all right, to create much better alignment here. It seems traumatic for right-handed people to do anything with their left, but I guarantee that if you just start 15 minutes a day working with a mouse on your left, and for 1 week, 15 minutes, week 2, 30 minutes, week 3, 45 minutes, by the time you get to week 4, where you're spending an hour a day with a mouse on the left, I guarantee you will be fluent left-hand mousing. It's like learning any new skill and having your brain having to learn something. You can do it, and I guarantee being ambidextrous with your mouse, where you could use your left or your right, will make all the difference in your comfort. Now, there are all kinds of ergonomic accessories out there that can be used to try to promote better postures. I can't go through all of them today because we could do an entire class just on ergonomic accessories, but I'm going to show you a few key ones and how they can make a difference. Now, the right one for you is the right one for you. What I use, what my neighbor uses, that's what's right for them. Everybody is different based on the kind of tasks that they're doing and based on their postural needs. But here are some examples of different types of accessories. There are things called mouse bridges, and they just sit over the numeric keypad on a traditional keyboard and allow a right-handed mouse user to get the mouse in a little bit closer. There are different types of keyboards out there. There are split keyboards, there are compact keyboards, there's keyboards that are at these angled positions, like the Microsoft Natural keyboard is probably the best example of that. That's because some people need to come in at an angle to work in a more neutral posture on their keyboard. Compact keyboards without a numeric keypad can help right-handed people get the mouse even closer to them than a standard keyboard. And then there's different styles of mice that help promote hands in different types of positions. So this is what's called an evoluent mouse. It's a vertical style mouse. This is a roller mouse that puts the control of the cursor right in front of you. This is a trackball. So instead of moving a mouse, you actually use your fingers to use the ball that's up here. The right accessory for you is really dependent on what issues you're experiencing. Most people don't need any kind of special accessory, but some people do. Now, here's how they change postures. Here's some examples. So here's my colleague again. This time, instead of using a traditional keyboard, she's on a compact keyboard, and you can see on the right side, she's now in pretty good posture. So if she doesn't need a numeric keypad, that might be a way of solving this problem. If she does need one, this would be a terrible solution. Now here she is on a traditional keyboard, but we've put one of those mouse bridges over the numeric keypad, and you can see that this also promotes a good posture. And for a $20 or $30 item, it's a pretty easy fix. Now here she is with a different type of mouse called a roller mouse, and you can see it puts the cursor control right in front of her. Now there's pros and cons of this. It causes her to come in at an angle now into the sort of center, and it also pushes the keyboard away from her by a little bit, which for some people may not be a good solution. But for some people, this might be an excellent solution. Now the pros and cons for every device or accessory, really, some things would be a pro for some people, and some things would be a con for the same person using the same device. The right solution is the one that works for you. Let's move on to chairs. Now, there's no one chair that will fit everybody, although there's some pretty good chairs out there that might fit about 80% of the people because they have a lot of adjustability. A good chair is going to promote good postures for you if it's adjusted properly.